The internet has radically shifted our lives. We have access to literally infinite information at a cost that is tending towards zero each and every day. Now, if you told someone in the early 20th century about the internet, they would think that maybe these guys are living in some paradise, like everything you need to know, you can know. However, if you ask someone in 2026, present day, I think they would have mixed feelings about the internet. Some people think it's good, some people think it's bad, some people think it's neutral. However, I don't know where I lie. Personally, I've used the internet to educate myself about things that can make me better in the long run. You know, the classic self help phase that I think most of us go through in early adulthood, or at some point in our lives, we go through this phase. Now, this phase feels very empowering and thrilling. For example, you're learning about how to do business, how to communicate, how to negotiate, how to make money online through trading, forex, crypto, stocks, and all that. And it's very thrilling. You think you're becoming a better person overall. However, I think there's a trap in self-help, especially when you're learning on the internet. And so the point of self-help is to perform better at whatever you're consuming content about. But most of us continue consuming content thinking somehow, thinking that somehow the more information we consume, the better we shall be at the subject without actually doing the thing we are consuming content about. This is because consuming information about something somehow tricks your brain into thinking that you're actually doing the thing. Let me give you an example. If, let's say, you want to start going to the gym and you load up YouTube, you start watching fitness content, you go on Instagram, you start watching fitness content, TikTok, and pick your platform. Now, your brain gives you the motivation to watch this content. However, it withholds the motivation to go to the gym because take motivation as a finite resource. If you're giving motivation to watching content, that means you'll have less motivation to actually go to the gym, to work out and do the whole work, to change your body, to get fit and all that. So why does your brain do this? This is because watching content or reading a book or listening to a podcast about something is actually easier than doing the thing itself, obviously. This is why self-help is so effective. You sit down, you watch content, but you're never changing your situation, you're never improving. Now, self-help gives you the illusion that you're somehow better than you were yesterday, even though nothing has changed. The fact is that no amount of information is going to replace the feeling of actually doing something. You can read around 100 books on public speaking, but you will still be terrified when you stand in front of even 10 strangers to talk to them. However, if you do 100 public speaking events, you'll be far, far better than someone who read 100 books on, even 1,000 books on public speaking. So I read this book called The Lean Startup by Eric Ries. Yeah, to be honest, I don't remember much from this book. However, at the very end, I think it's even the last line in this book, he says, reading is good, but doing is better. Now, as I finish off, I'd like to leave you with a quote from Alex Hormozy. I consumed a lot of his content at the beginning of this year, but then I realized I was falling into this self-help trap. Like, he keeps on giving advice to young men on what to do business-wise, mostly fitness, what. But I was continuously consuming the information without changing my behavior. And he says that consumption of information without change in your behavior is basically entertainment. You basically entertained yourself by consuming this information. If you're not going to change your behavior, if you have not changed your behavior. So start doing, consume less. Peace.